welcome to Motherhood Grace. I am Kate Markovitz. I am super excited to bring you an interview today that is all about self-care and journaling with my journaling expert herself, Alyssa Kuzins. Alyssa was actually my business coach when I first launched my nutrition business. I think it was 2015. So I've known Alyssa for quite a few years now. She has been an integral part in not only my business and nutrition and growth there, but also in bringing you the postpartum grace guide, because she was generous enough to mentor me through that process. I reached out to her because she had created something called the journal deck, which I can't wait to tell you about. And she shared with me her printer and the process and things to think about, and was so gracious and giving. And it's amazing to have that collaboration and support from a woman who's in the same sphere as you. She's also from Pittsburgh. So shout out to all my Pittsburgh ladies if you are tuning in today. Let me tell you a little bit more about Alyssa now. So she created a product called the Journal Deck, which brings together oracle cards and journaling. It's basically a deck of 52 cards where you can pull and get a prompt for journaling. It's like one a week, so it's very manageable, but it also gives you time to really dissect and dive deep into whatever that prompt is. I absolutely love the deck. She has a goddess edition where it's totally redesigned, a matching journal to go along with it. It's a fabulous product. I use it myself. I should have grabbed it because it's right over there on my desk, but I have gifted it. It's an awesome product and something really fun to give to people, especially if someone is going through a hard time and they don't know where to turn. Give them a journal deck. It's a great idea. So she created the journal deck. She also does workshops involving the journal deck. She does speaking engagements. She recently launched a new program called Femme Pittsburgh. So like I mentioned, if you're from Pittsburgh, definitely check that out, FEMME. It's going to be totally her place to shine. She's super passionate, and I know that she's going to rock that space. She does 2 yearly retreats, which are absolutely amazing for women to come together and work on themselves and self-care and everything that entails. And I know you are going to absolutely love Alyssa when you listen to this interview. She is so passionate. She knows so much about journaling and the benefits, and her theory into why we don't journal, which I absolutely loved. I had so many questions for her, and I really felt like you just got to see a recorded clip of two girlfriends chatting, because we were just like sharing back and forth. I was picking her brain about journaling because it's obviously something I really believe in, and part of the Grace Guide and some of the different things that I offer here at Motherhood Grace. So I can't wait for you to connect with her. You can learn more about her at thejournaldeck.com, also the Journal Deck on Instagram. Of course, everything is going to be linked below, along with some Cliffnote versions of what we talk about, but I really hope you enjoy this interview. Okay, so I am here with Alyssa from the Journal Deck, Femme Pittsburgh, Alyssa Kuzins. You got it all, girl. Love it.
Yes, just keep it rolling.
Yes. So I thought we would actually start out, since everybody already has like your professional, they understand like what you do, kind of what you offer. But of course, we'll go over that at the end in your own words. But share with me, because you're my journaling expert, as I'm going to call you. I don't know if you want to be known as that, but you are in my mind. Share us like the fun part of your background of why you came up with the journal deck.
Okay, so here's the thing: is it's not from a fun place.
Okay, right.
That's the funny, not funny part. So, but it's a good story. And I share this all the time because I think it's important. And I think a lot of people come to journaling from this exact place or a similar place. I came to journaling because I had a broken heart.
I get goosebumps. I don't know if you can see it.
Broken, busted, whatever you want to call it, really hurting, because I had been in a relationship with one person for, at that point, I don't know if it was 9 or 10 years. And we had gotten engaged in March 2015. And then by November of that same year, he told me he wasn't in love with me anymore. And it was just like,
yeah, You can't breathe.
Yeah, like brain not understanding. You just proposed to me in front of so many people. What I don't understand. So the thing is that ultimately I had been going through a lot of changes. So what he was saying was valid. I was a very different person, especially when we had been, dating since we were 15 years old. I mean, oh my goodness, I was out of college by then. So of course I changed a ton. I hope you're changing every single year too, and evolving, right? So he was right, but it was just one of those things where we weren't connecting anymore. And ultimately we needed to separate because we were very codependent and we didn't know who we were without the other. And I know a lot
Mhm.
of people have
I
been
was
in a,
gonna say, I'm thinking of people in my mind right now. Yeah.
and I share this story and I always get people that will come up to me and say, oh, like, oh my God, like I feel that so much, like that was me, or, I've been there. And how did you heal? Well, number one, we had to completely separate, called off the wedding. I moved out, moved back in with my parents, really cool. And
Mm.
um, I just, I turned to every kind of self-care modality because I was a yoga teacher. So I had these tools. I knew how to do the healing. It was just a matter of doing it and using it on myself, and not just, being a teacher, but really now being the student. And like I need
Mhm.
to integrate all of these practices. And I had hired a life coach to work with me for 6 months to figure out my stuff. Because, like I said, who am I without you? I don't know who Alyssa is. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I stand for. What are my values? Where am I going? Where was I going by myself without Brad? I didn't know. So I hired her, and she kept assigning me journal prompts. And they were just really thought provoking, those deep life questions, not surface level. And they ended up giving me such good, juicy insights and downloads that I felt like was healing me and helping me to understand myself in new ways on deeper levels. Fast forwarding, the good news is that we got back together after a lot of self-healing on my end and his end, and totally separating. And I was sitting on our couch one day and I got the lightning bolt idea. It was just like it came down from the heavens. I thought, I was using oracle cards, like a tarot type deck, and I used them a lot. And I thought, why is there not something that takes the healing aspect of journal prompts and fuses it with the guiding principle of oracle type cards, where you pull something for a hit of inspiration for your day, some guidance? And I Googled and couldn't find anything that quite fit that bill. And I didn't understand why, because I thought it was genius.
It is. I love it.
So I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it. And the name of the journal deck, it came to me that day, and it was just so clear. It's going to be called the journal deck. 52 prompts, 52 weeks in a year, one prompt a week, journaling habit, get in the ritual, healing, deep questions, introspection, self-care. And it just all came to me, and I went with it. I found a printer, the same printer that you used.
Yep. Yep.
And shout out Never Press. And now we're on to, this is the second edition. Because we ran through the first one. I realized it needed to change and evolve. Like I said,
Just like you did.
just like
Yep.
I did. So it
Yep.
used to look differently. And now it's a beautiful, like the way that this looks now, I'm so proud of this baby right here. It's evolved and it's mature, just like I did. And that's how we're here.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Because you did have the insight to know that it is something that other people need. Like, you didn't keep it to yourself, which is what I love. I love people who, they have a problem, they work through their problem, and instead of just like, okay, moving on with my life, it's like, how can I help so
Mm.
many other people with the same issue that I know they're having?
There's
Because
that all the time.
yeah,
People,
you see it all the time, and people don't know what to do. And it's like, and if you said to them, "Oh, I journaled," like they'd be like, "Oh, okay." Like,
that's the thing is, when I tell this story, people immediately say to me, what did you do? That they want the elixir, you know? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that I can tell you this, and this. This is the secret recipe for all things
Right.
healing broken heart. Everyone is going to have a different self-care healing recipe. But in my experience, journaling, along with other modalities, yoga, meditation, prayer, breath work, I was as outside as often as possible. I'm a firm believer in Mother Nature healing us. And I did as many of these healing modalities like the journaling and the yoga and such. I did them outside whenever I could, weather permitting. I literally pulled out every single self-care tool. Like, I'm not kidding you. And journaling was just such an epicenter of it, for feeling like a safe space to get my thoughts out, to get out my feelings, to understand what the hell was going on up here and in here.
Mm-hmm.
And finding that, I think journaling kind of meets it right in the middle. And someone pointed out to me at a or at a lecture I did, I said, journaling seems to me to fuse the heart space with the mind space, and it brings it, and it's a bridge. And she said, you know what's so cool? Your throat is in the
That's
middle of
right, the middle.
your communication. And I thought, oh, I have never, I'm in a lecture, supposed to be the journaling expert, right? And asked me if I ever thought of that. And I thought, oh my goodness, no. But I always say it's the bridge between like the heart and the mind is the writing.
Mm-hmm.
In your journal, and it's right there. It's the throat, it's the voice through pen to paper, writing it out.
Right. I hear that. Yes, totally. And a couple things actually that you said in there. I'm just writing this like self-care series for September. That's why I feel like this fits so well for um, women who want this guide. But what you said and what I was saying about self-care is I feel like a lot of people think it is like the act of doing, like you know, you have to do yoga. And I have come to realize that part of self-care is on like figuring out who I am and like honoring who I am. And I think that journaling has helped me do that. It's like figure out like it's okay that I am this way that might not fit the perfect mold over here, and like just understanding like what that means for me. And like part of my self-care is knowing that now, instead of just like seeing the, you know, self-care Instagram picture where it's like checking off all these things that sometimes like in the phase of life you might not be able to do, especially in immediate postpartum. It's like energy for yourself is very low. So
One of the worst things we can do to ourselves is to make self-care another to do.
yes, yes, yes. Talk about that, because that's what I'm like, this is where I struggled for a long time.
And here's the thing. Number one, self-care is not a Sunday. Let's start there.
I like
Hashtag,
that. Mm-hmm.
self-care is not a Sunday. Also, another important point, self-care is not selfish is the furthest thing from being selfish, because when you have a full cup, you have more to give to others. So let's just get that straightened out of the way right now. That's ludicrous to think that it's selfish. Okay, so how self-care becomes a to-do list is because of what you just said a minute ago. You said people think of it as a doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's not about it's not about how much you do something or even like what you're doing. It's, are you being?
Yes, B is my word for 2019, so I like that.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
being. We are human beings, not human doings. So it's a being, it's not a doing. You know, when you are on your yoga mat, are you doing yoga, or are you really being on your mat, in your body, embodiment in your body? When you are with your journal, are you just doing the act of the writing and you're just aimlessly doing it because you think it's just like this thing that's going to magically make me feel better? Or are you really getting in there and being with yourself, being with your heart and your thoughts and the way you feel? There's a huge difference. And I know that the women listening to this, they know what that difference is. It's hard to even almost put into tangible words, but there's a huge feeling difference between the act of beingness and doing. They're very, very different. And it's something that, unfortunately, in the culture that we're in, it's been indoctrinated into us that everything is about productivity and lists and a very unhealthy version of what I'll call masculine energy, not as in gender, not as in gender. Just think of it like energy, okay? Just think of it like in that without going into all of it. It's an unhealthy system that we're raised in that's a doingness, where productivity and how much you get done, that's your value system of where you get value for yourself and how well you're doing as a human in this world, or as a mom, or as a wife. How much did I get done today? That's a kind of a baseline, like metric. That's why I hate when people say, how are you doing? Like, can you just ask me maybe how I'm feeling instead?
Right.
How am I doing? How am I doing? That almost like, think about it. How am I doing? What do you mean, how am I doing? That doesn't,
Right.
it actually doesn't make that much sense. How am I doing what? Like,
Right.
but how am I feeling?
How are you doing life? Like it's like, wait a second. Yeah.
Sense, right? Your brain goes, if you think too hard, you're like, that doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense. Because it's about being. And being is about feeling, which is why I love journaling, because it's about those more slowing down, introspective qualities that we are not very, I'm going to say, well trained at. We don't know how to, which is why I always want women to be really gentle with themselves when they're starting a practice like journaling, because it can feel really confusing and you can think like, this is dumb. I'm doing this wrong. This feels more stressful to me. I understand that, but I think it's only because
You're doing it. You're not being it. That's what my comment actually was going to be earlier. You were talking, I was thinking, I feel like I've heard a lot of people, if I mention journaling, like I have a girlfriend right now who's like, I going through something hard, and she's like, I just don't know what to do. So many people have recommended journaling, but I don't even know like what to do, or it just didn't make sense to me when I've tried to do it before. And you just kind of gave me words to give her, is that you were doing the journaling, like you're thinking there's some way that you're supposed to do this, right? Like I should be able to get an A+ on this. That was me. How do I get the A+? Like, what am I supposed to write here? Like, where's my rubric? And instead, I find like when I get in the zone of journaling, it really is it's like my mind's thinking faster than my hand can write. And it's like all these things are starting to just really flow out. Yeah. Why?
Okay. So that's because, okay, we're going to be like Kanye West. Don't let me get in my zone.
Yeah.
So that zone is the creative zone. And when you're in the beingness state, you're out of your head space and you're into your mind space. Those are two very different things. So a lot of us are stuck in our head. Okay, so let me explain here. If you're stuck in your head, then you have endless mental chatter. It's like you can't
Amen.
It's in your head, right? I don't believe that that's your mind, like your mind with a capital M, because your mind is amazing. The human brain is amazing, right? And they say we only tap little pieces of it, a little part. And I really believe that. And as I've done more research into it, if you can think of it like layers of your mind, if you will, think of like your top layer is like right here, this prefrontal cortex. Okay, we're not going to go too deep here. Stay with. If we're right here, guess what this part of the mind does? Do you know? The prefrontal.
The prefront, that's the one that doesn't fully develop until you're older, right? So it's like decision making. Is that right?
logical thinking.
Yeah. Logical. Okay.
It's pragmatics. It's like the logic of things. It's the thinking mind. So I'm
Okay.
a teacher, so I'm going to say it like in Sanskrit, it would be called the chitta. And that would be like the thinking, intellectual mind. Okay.
Okay.
So that's where we live pretty much all the time. We're up here.
Yeah.
We're in our head. You know, when someone says to you, where are you right now? I feel like you're in your head. Like, are you with me?
Yeah.
You know, and you know when someone's totally like out.
Right.
That's because they're so in their head and there's like this going on and they like they're not with you at all. So they're in their head in that moment. They're in this space. They're in the front. They're in all of that logical thinking because that's where, again, we are taught to be.
Right.
So then when I say to someone, this goes into right into this next point is why is journaling not used more? If it's such an amazing tool, if you know, I could list off to you all of this, there's these studies that have been done. If it's healing, if it helps with PTSD, if it helps with depression and anxiety and emotional intelligence and creativity and all these beautiful things, just like yoga, just like meditation, then why aren't people doing it? So 2 reasons.
Yes, tell me, because this is like the question I ponder on a daily basis.
Why? Me too. Here's my theory, 2 parts. Number 1, it's not as shiny.
Mm-hmm.
It's you and your journal.
And everybody always says to me, because maybe this is going to like interrupt and like if it doesn't make sense here, but I do want to talk about like they're like, is typing the same or is like talking the same? And I say no, but I can't quite put into words why. So I just want to make sure we cover that too while I'm thinking of it.
Yes. Right.
So it's shiny. Yeah. Got it.
We'll talk. Yes. But quick answer, no. I want you to write. So it's not as shiny as going to a yoga class. You put on your cute outfit and you're like, I'm going yoga. I can take a little Insta photo of me and my toes on my mat. Like it just like everything, you know, looks cute. My green smoothie is beautiful, whatever. Meditation, that Kundalini class, that sounds super cool. But then me and my journal. I mean, maybe I could take a cute photo of me like curled up on the couch with a cup of tea and my journal, but beyond that, like what am I going to show? I don't really want to show my picture, my words, because that's really private. So what is there to show really? It's gritty. It's you and your thoughts. So it's not as shiny. So that's one part. Other self-care tools feel more shiny, especially in the social media driven world.
Mm-hmm.
So part 2 of that gets into that mind part again, versus the head. So I think that journaling is one of the most abrasive forms of introspective tools.
Okay, explain that.
So you got yoga, all right? We're using movement. Movement is the vehicle. I'm asking you, I don't want you to think. I don't want you to think about anything. I want you to move and breathe, right? Just move. Keep it moving. Moving meditation, you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to think because it's a moving meditation. The movement is the vehicle, and then this can slow down.
Right.
Okay? By the end of Shavasana, feel better. Because this has literally calmed down because you've used the body.
Right.
A whole other discussion about the body and the mind. Whew, that's a good one. Meditation or breath work. They can be together. You're using your breath or a chant, if you were doing a chanting meditation. So you're somehow using the voice, whether it's actual words or some kind of breathing, is the vehicle to get you out of thinking.
Right.
To get you into the being.
Gotcha.
So one uses the moving to get to the being, one uses the breath or the chanting to get to the being. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
What does journaling do? What's the vehicle of journaling really? What's it? It's you're sitting there ruminating and you're like, wait a minute, why am I using aren't I thinking? Why do
Thinking in my head.
Why do I want to think more?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, writing might be the vehicle, but that requires that I think.
Right.
Don't I want to not think? It's not about, it's not about necessarily the absence of all thought, but journaling is about using your mind with a capital M, not your head. But the reason I say it's the most abrasive is because of that point right there, because we are not taught how to be in our mind.
Right. Yeah, true.
We are taught, and it is nurtured in us how to be in our head.
And I almost feel like it's describing those other ways. It's all about slowing down the mind, or like almost not avoiding, but just taking a moment to step away possibly. Whereas I feel like with journaling, you're like you are ramping up
Mm-hmm.
thoughts, right? Like you're ramping up to get into those
Right.
feelings, which we don't do otherwise.
Right. And it doesn't feel comfortable to necessarily go to that space to
Right.
feelings. That's why I say it's the most abrasive, and one of the reasons people don't like it, because they're like, I don't want to think anymore. My brain is damn tired. I don't want to. And I do
Or
understand.
it's like for me, I'm almost like I don't even want to know what I really think. Like
Okay, there's that.
I
The
can sit
abrasive.
here and like tell myself this story and like that's not what's happening, but it's
Yeah.
like when I sit down and confront myself, I got to be honest with myself, you know?
Again, the abrasive part.
Yeah.
And I think if we can learn how to get into the mind versus work with the head, that's learning how to be instead of do, which is looping us right back to how we started this conversation. And that's the game changing thing, is how do I get to that place? And that's where this comes down to a lot, that's a logical next question. And it comes down to self-care. Like I said, it can't just be a Sunday.
Yeah.
It can't be a passing thought. It can't be, oh, that's just a luxury for the few who don't have children and who have no real responsibilities besides themselves. If you think in that way, it will always feel like a luxury that you don't have time for.
Right.
It's not necessary. When in actuality, it is, in my opinion, not only like, yes, it can feel luxurious. Going to yoga class for yourself can just feel so rejuvenating. But to me, it is necessary. And I think that word is in contradiction to the term luxury. And that's where people, I think that it's a mind reframe, because we've been, again, taught that self-care is somehow this thing that's, oh, that's nice if I can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But in my mind, I just can't even think that way. It doesn't actually make sense, because at this point, I just so understand that the research doesn't lie, that when you make time and space, it's not just about time management, but when you make space in your life to take care of yourself, that doesn't mean it has to be some luxurious 1 hour yoga class. But when you do that and you make that space, you, without a doubt, all of these benefits come to you, and you have so much to give. We're talking about new moms here who, they have this new life that is their responsibility in every facet of that word. It is their everything. That child can do nothing. Thanks to these gigantic human brains we have, we literally are so helpless when we're born. Literally, because we have these amazing brains that we're talking about right now, that you want to be able to give that baby your everything. And you can't give your baby everything if you are completely depleted.
No,
And
it's when you're saying it out loud, and it's one of those things where to me it's like, yeah, you hear it, you read it, but like when you said it, like truly, it does not make sense that you can show up and take care of other people if you aren't taking care of yourself. Like it's maybe you just have to keep hearing it and hearing it and hearing it, or something.
little,
Or yeah, like it just has to feel like, kind of like what we're saying. It can't be, I think just we get so stuck in that it does feel like a luxury or it feels like such an effort. I think a big part of self-care for moms is communication. I know for me, it was like me not communicating. It was me not saying, hey, I need 30 minutes to go be by myself or 30 minutes to go outside for a walk and breathe. Like,
Space. I need
yeah, yeah, like I need the space. And it was just me feeling that I was not a good mom if I had to ask for space, but it was because I didn't necessarily fully tap into that concept of like I have to take care of myself first. Um, but
absolutely.
it was definitely a lack of communication and a lack of honesty with like the people in my life and around me.
Absolutely. And when it comes to stress management, which hello stress when you have a baby that is brand new. Let me preface with saying I don't have a child. This is me trying to understand from my friends who have had children, and my nephew and such, and witnessing that experience. Um, that is, correct me if I'm wrong, stressful.
The most stress you ever imagine, right? Especially when you get into a space of, whether your kid has like, reflux or they're not sleeping or like, there are definitely kids where I like my nephew was like a great newborn and my sister was like, this is wonderful. Like I want 10 more. And then her next kid was like the complete opposite of the spectrum. And like you have to have a little perspective. Like I thought for me as the mom, like it was me. Like the reason my kid was acting the way she was acting, which was like colicky reflux, didn't sleep, didn't eat nothing, was because I was somehow flawed. It was my fault. Um, and so I felt that extreme responsibility and extreme stress that I was the one that had to fix her. Like I literally felt like I had to fix her. And like obviously,
Interesting is in that moment though, what if, like, okay, the one thing that you could have done to help that, maybe a part of it would have been, what if I actually focus on, if I can feel really good and get my stress under control in some way, is that not going to feed back to her?
totally. It would, I mean, and I think it's one of the things that I struggled with because I would hear, if you're stressed, your baby's going to be stressed. And then I would stress about being stressed. And it was just like this loop, 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 loop. Um, and in hindsight, I just wish it would have been like, it could have just been saying to my husband, like, hey, can you hold her for an hour? I'll go to sleep and at least get 1 hour of a good sleep, like it didn't, I felt like to alleviate that stress, it was going to have to be like going to an hour yoga class or like, like I was taking the concepts of pre-baby, of self-care pre-baby and making that post-baby. And it wasn't like truly even 15 minutes would have filled me up so much more patience wise
Absolutely.
that I wouldn't have to hit the rock bottom.
Absolutely. Because stress on the system is, I just did this training and we were talking about stress and trauma. And stress is just, it's killer. Literally.
I mean, it's that I started in nutrition, right? And like I am so far now removed where I'm like nutrition is one thing, it is not everything, and like I almost would put it more towards the bottom. Like it is sleep, it is stress. Like if those two things you can even just control, like or get a better handle on, like
Like
yeah,
energetically speaking, not, and that's not some woo woo term. So let's be
I
clear,
know.
it's not. We are all made up of energy, literally are the electrical impulses that are going through your brain and your all the things that guess what? It's energy. That's what electricity is. So if you think of this body as a channel of energy that's moving, when you're stressed, do you think that that channel of energy, like I'm talking quite literally science here, not just spirituality, do you think, Kate, that those channels that are going up and down your body, the nerves that are bringing these electrical impulses, when you're stressed, do you think they're moving fast or they're moving slow
Fast.
when you're
No.
stressed?
When you're stressed, oh, for me, I feel like I get like adrenaline, like I like can't stop moving.
So
Is it not the opposite?
think of it like this. You have these channels and they're connecting, maybe if I elaborate.
Okay.
These channels are going, they're speaking from your body
Mm-hmm.
to your mind.
Okay.
So when you're really stressed, do you feel sometimes you get like foggy or like I can't focus? Like there's a lot of things going on.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, are you guessing that those channels are going fast or going slow?
Slow. Gotcha.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Just had to elaborate. So
I was gonna say, because for me, I'm like a speed demon on shows. It's like
this
but
feels
it's like, yeah, like I can't. It's like you can't focus because you're just like whirling around like a tornado.
right. That's the big difference though, is that
Yeah.
this body, like literally those electrical impulses and things, those are going really, those are not moving as fast as they should be under
Mm-hmm.
under trauma, under stress, chronic low level stress or high level stress. But the mind feels like it's like, where is it? It's like it's completely in another dimension. It's spiraling off somewhere. But the funny thing is that your mind doesn't operate from a principle in its natural state. That's not its natural state. Your
Mm-hmm.
mind's natural state is stillness. That's why we do meditation. Your body's natural
Interesting.
movement. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Were our ancestors just sitting around on couches? No, they were moving. Their body is
Right.
on the principle of movement. Your mind is on the principle of stillness. We have it the other way around, unfortunately, the way that our society is. So when we try to do things like, get my pen out, let me journal, we feel like our mind, first of all, we're not even really in our mind, we're in our head. We're in the spiraling off head that's so loud. We're like, I don't even know where to begin with this whole journaling thing. What do I write? We get this feeling of, I don't know where to go from here. I feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Disconnect, because we're disconnected from how we really feel, because we're so in our own head that the
It's that's 100%. I mean, I do think that that's like the major problem that I feel like most of my friends who I tell like go journal. It's like they don't even feel the level of disconnect within their own selves, or they don't even know who they are enough to even really start tapping into it.
yes. And that's where, okay, so that's where it's important to point out that, again, journaling without any other mindful behavior changes. You know, if you're not going to focus on, like you said, sleep, getting some quality sleep, if you're not going to move your body, which I am a huge advocate for, if you're not going to try and carve out time for yourself, if you're not going to eat healthy, even if these are, you know, again, I'm not saying you have to do hour yoga classes 4 times a week or whatever. Journaling can't be a one-time fix-all. It can't be like, just like how I tell people, if you only move your body once a week, do you really think that that's going to help you lose weight?
Right.
So if you only journal once a week with doing nothing else, and everything else is like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, same metaphor as Eckhart Tolle said, with if you go to church once a week and the rest of the week, the rest of the 6 days, you are mean, you are unkind, you are disrespectful, does the big G give you a pass?
Right.
No. That doesn't make you more spiritual because you go to church once a week. So just because you journal, but the rest of your life is complete chaos and you're not checking yourself, you know, in any other area of your life, it is not a cure-all. And that is important, because I think people, they come to these practices like, this one thing will save me.
Yeah, very true. Mm-hmm.
Save yourself, and you have to be willing to do the work. And I don't say that in a way to scare people. I say that in a way that, again, you can't expect one thing to change in your life and to do nothing else. Like if you're still sleeping like terrible, you're in terms of maybe you eat complete garbage, you have to be willing to make small changes that will add up. This isn't, I don't know how I'm articulating this as well as I am trying here. It's especially for new moms. I don't want you to feel like, oh my God, like, how am I going to do this? Start small.
Mm-hmm.
Start with like the JD or the, the guide that Kate's created, the postpartum guide here. Start small. I always tell people, if this is new to you, start small.
Yeah, like I truly, when I designed it, it was something that will take 2 minutes to read and like 2 to 3 prompts that are like maybe get you to think a little bit, or sometimes it's even like, you know what, here's a win from today, or, what are you grateful for? Just like 10 minutes or less. Like the 10 minutes, like take it into the bathroom when you go to the bathroom. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the thing, maybe how I was trying to articulate this, here's maybe a better example. So when you do this one thing, like when you make your bed, they say it's like that will like start your day.
Right.
Whenever you start your day off on the right foot and you're more likely to say eat a good meal because you started the day with a good meal.
Right.
Same premise. So say you wake up, you pull out your journaling and you get to it. You're more likely to choose self-care throughout your day if you start your day with self-care.
I like that one.
Just like making your bed. It's the same exact principle. So in that way, I think that maybe that makes more sense for folks when I say what I was trying to explain. You're going to just continually make these self-care choices, because they are choices throughout your day if you can start that way. And before you know it, this is more of a lifestyle, and it doesn't feel like a to-do list anymore. That's going back again. It feels like it's just like, this is a part of my life. And it's not some big to-do list that I have to run down to feel like I've accomplished something or to feel good. Because I know that feels overwhelming to think,
Mm-hmm.
I have to do yoga, I have to do meditation, I have to journal. Like, how am I gonna have
Yeah.
so
And I
much
think it's like it's the identity shift that you have to start making. Like you have to be sick enough of who you are or were to say, I really do want to change. I really do want to be that healthy person, or I really do want to live a life where where I'm joyful, where I'm, like whatever it is, where I think you just have to like say, I'm going to choose journaling, or I'm going to do it in the morning because that is the life that I want. Maybe you make the journaling the thing, or whatever it is, maybe meditation, right? Like you just have to make that habit. Yeah.
They all start to build.
Mm-hmm. The snowball.
Yeah, exactly. I told my friend the other day, I said, it's a self-care snowball.
Mm-hmm.
So do you either want, to create, I told her, I said, am I allowed to say a swear word?
Go ahead.
I said, do you either want to make a shit snowball or do you want to make a self-care snowball?
Yeah.
Either way, you choose
Yeah.
what you're rolling. So that's what I mean by, if you only do one good thing and everything else is shit throughout your week, you're probably still creating a shit snowball.
Right.
That little bit isn't probably doing much in the snowball. But if you can take some self-care and it'll just kind of start layering itself in, before you know it, you've got a really nice self-care snowball going. And that doesn't mean that everything's going to be great. You're going to have stuff that's thrown into that snowball that's chaos. But here's the thing. When you have your self-care and you've got these tools like all the journaling, this is the work that it prepares you for when everything is too much.
It does. That's the one thing I wish I would have realized before I went into postpartum. I wish I would have set I did foundational work, thankfully, and body image and all of that, because I see women who really struggle through their body changing or putting on weight. And like, it's like, I see clearly how I had laid the foundation for that, and I didn't have any of those issues. But I did not do a great job even before I had a baby of making myself a priority. It was always like everybody else or my work. And I just did the things because I thought I was supposed to. It was more because I was supposed to work out, or I was supposed to do that. And I wish I would have laid the foundation of, this is what makes me feel like me. This is when I feel my best. Like, kind of, again, seeing how that fits into who I am and my identity rather than like the to-do list.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you can always change it. That's the other thing. Like, this is not something that's like going to take a ton of effort. It might just take a little bit of figuring out, how does it work for me? Is it something I wake up with and I do with my coffee? Or, like, don't make it like you have to set aside this huge chunk of time. Like, try to figure out where in my day, like maybe at night you're sitting there scrolling your phone, like put the phone away and do it then. I think one of the big things people have issues with is they like don't see like the time that they're on their phone or like TV or, those mindless things. Um, they don't see that as an opportunity to fill with something that would be a little bit more cup filling.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Something that is giving them a sense of internal space.
Right. Yes.
Or actually, when you're journaling, you're writing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that's right in your book. You have write it out, and that's something that I say with JD is write it out to clear it out.
Mm. I like that.
You're doing things like journaling to make space internally. If you're filling yourself with just endless scrolling, which we all do, and TV, is that really, what is that? That's actually just filling you.
Mm-hmm.
that's not that's not expanding you. It's not creating space. It's
Right.
filling you in a way that feels suffocating. It
Right.
doesn't feel spacious, So that's what you write it out and you clear it out. There's just something in this here. This is our loop back to writing and why you write.
Oh, yes. I forgot about that again.
It's hands down, writing is not the same as typing. As a great example of a person who could attest to this, there's a woman here in Pittsburgh named Julie, and you probably know her, Julie Kroner. Have you heard of her?
I feel like the name sounds familiar, but it's like not popping anything, but
Blogger as well.
okay.
And she's also a mom, and she has psoriatic arthritis.
Mm.
She can't actually, the holding this hurts. And she said, we did a podcast interview on my podcast, and I remember she said, I don't feel the same when I write versus when I type. And I thought it was the best, most beautiful example of someone who physically is telling you, I can feel the difference. I can't write like it hurts. Like I literally can't. So when I try to type, I don't feel the same catharsis. And I thought that was such a beautiful example of that in action with a woman who is just like you, who's, a mom. She's in her 30s. Like she's actually a holistic health coach. I mean, she's just like everyone else. And she's saying, here's my story. I literally can't hold a pencil some days. And I can tell you there's a huge difference when I type versus when I write. And to be quite frank, you are on your screens enough. Get off of
Right.
the notepad that's on your phone and the journaling. If there's an app for it, I don't even know if there is. I wouldn't even look that shit up because I don't want a journaling app. I want pen and paper. I want to feel it. I want to be with my paper here and my own scribble. Even if it's messy, I want to be with it and get it onto a piece of paper and feel that catharsis that only writing can do. And even I looked at a study of cursive writing. This is even more zoned in. They looked at how cursive writing, and because you have to pick up your pencil less when you do cursive because of how flowy it is, that it's actually even better for our brains because we get more out because of the flowiness. So if you have a super flowy handwriting instead of script, you actually technically, according to this study, could be getting even more catharsis from it.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I have a story to share about that. I find that when I start, so I really like stream of consciousness, like expressive. So usually when I start, I will start printing, and by the end it's like this ferocious like scribbling. And it's just like I can't write fast enough. And I think that's like sometimes what I hear the quote unquote argument is like, oh, well, I can type faster than I can Right, but it's not about like being fast, because you can still process and think through things that maybe aren't even necessarily making it to the paper.
Mm.
And the other thing that I find is, like, I wrote in my book or in my journal, like, I am a good mom. And I like wrote it and wrote it and wrote it. And it's like, I could, I had socks, I think my friend got me, that said like, I am a great mom or something. Like I can see that in other print, other places, but that is in my handwriting. Like it's like something about it, like being, it was like a note to myself. And like eventually, like it clicked. It was like, wait a minute, I am a good mom. Like I care about my kid. I am trying the hardest I possibly can. Like eventually that became true, because I feel like I just wrote it and wrote it and wrote it in my handwriting, like feeling it, like you said, touching it, and just eventually it like clicked. It made sense. Like, okay, I got this. Like, okay, deep breath, right?
You wrote it
Um,
out and it got clear.
yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Like and it took, I mean, literally, I probably wrote it 500 times. I don't even know how many times I wrote it. Like, or I would just take a negative thought and create a positive affirmation and keep writing it until like I believed it or until it clicked. Like it was just
So I just want to share this. I want to share this with your audience here. Can I just share some, like, to wrap it up so that they have
like tips.
some
So what you're gonna give?
I want them to know what actual some of these benefits are.
Yes,
Because
do
I think
it.
that's
Yeah,
something
I was gonna say I've already sucked up enough of your time,
people
so
want to
we'll
know
do
this.
that and
Like,
then like
why?
close it up. Yeah.
People always say that, like, well, you hear it's good for you. Why is it so goddamn good for you? Like, please tell me. So
Yeah.
here's why. All right, this isn't not in any particular order here. I have like some things here. Here we go. Stress, anxiety, depression, help manage all of that. Okay, we've talked about stress like the whole time on this call. All right, many of us are on either anti-anxiety or we're on anti-depression meditation. I know so many people that are on that. So they're big one, number one. PTSD and trauma. There's been so much research done around those specific subjects of PTSD, trauma, and healing with writing and journaling. Huge, very big, game changing. Again, writing it out to clear it out. Literally, they did a study where if they looked at their hardest, most traumatic experiences in their lives and they wrote about them versus writing about a neutral topic like your shoes, they actually had not only better self-reported health benefits, but they looked into health, different stats on their bodies, and there were significant improvements in certain areas versus just writing topics. And that was writing about their hardest things of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really interesting study. Boosting your immune system. Journaling is found to aid with. There's one study that was done, or a couple that have been done actually looked at that. Let's see. This one, a lot of people make sense for them. Developing greater self-awareness, like we talked about. Confidence, because again, it's your voice. You're writing it down on a piece of paper. Like, hear me, I'm writing it down. Confidence. Obviously helping us slow down in a faster world that we live in. Mood boosting. Strengthening our emotional intelligence and our functions, because honestly, emotional intelligence is becoming a very hot topic these days because of our lack of eyeballs with all the screens.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing that interpersonal communication with people. So emotional intelligence with journaling, I think, I find that to be a really interesting benefit. Obviously, keeping your memory sharper, you could probably guess that one. And lastly, I'll throw this one at you, engaging our right brain creativity.
Okay.
I think for women who have had children, new babies, I think it's for them maybe a little respite that they get to engage. It's cool because journaling engages both sides really of your brain. It engages your right side, the creativity, think of like creative writing, but then it's also engaging your writing part of the brain is over here on your left side, which is what's considered more of the like a logical, if you will, side of the brain. When people say left brain, right brain,
Mm-hmm.
this is like the more logical side, and this is the more creative side, if you will. it actually kind of does both when you're journaling. I love that. It really good brain hemisphere communication is happening with journaling. So I love that. I think for new moms, we want that brain working as fluidly as possible. Keep
Right.
it sharp, on point with your new little one. So I think if you have your brain working all in harmony, that sounds like a good thing for a new mom to me.
Totally, because I don't know. I mean, people, see hashtag mom brain all the time, and it definitely your brain like slows down. You almost like it's hard. It's hard almost for both sides to communicate, and that all the hormones that are going on. So I do think that this is a great way to kind of, because you're not really writing most of the time, you're not working, especially in those first 6 weeks. So like this is a good way to still keep that like muscle working in a way. Yeah.
Yes, because the mom brain is I think it's actually very scientific, because
It is, yeah.
what happens is when you're super stressed, you literally, that part of your brain, this part is so overactive when you're stressed, like that prefrontal cortex, which has to do with a lot of like language and understanding. You literally can't understand when someone's really stressed and they're like, I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth. Like,
Yeah, you're like, did you just hear what I asked you? Like,
yeah,
it's like they can't even focus. Yeah.
they can't. If a mom is really stressed, when she's like, what are words right now? Like, I can't even make sentences. Like, what did you just say to me? I know you said it 3 times. Can you say it one more time? They're
Right.
so stressed that literally their communication and understanding and that language ability is shutting down. It actually is shutting
I
down.
can tell you it does.
It's real. It happens to all of us when we're stressed. It's how
Mm-hmm.
our human amazing bodies work under stress, because when you're in a fight or flight situation, when that cheetah is coming at you, all you need to know is I need to bolt. You don't
Right.
be listening and being like, did I understand that sentence fully? No, you need to go. You're fighting or flighting. So your body is just shutting down like that area. It's like, I don't need that. I don't need
Right.
that. I'm so stressed right now. I need to just.
Survive.
So
Mm-hmm.
mom brain is very real. So I love that this can, like you said, keep that brain engagement and that hemispheres of the brain communicating and creating and thinking in a really deep way. And honestly, journaling also reduces the activity of your amygdala, which is a part of your brain that deals with, guess what? Your emotions. So when moms are like crying all the time and they're like, I'm emotional, I say that with love. I'm sure. I have a 2-month-old puppy and I'm getting stressed. Your amygdala is going nuts because it's stressed, and therefore your emotions are firing. When you're stressed, you're more emotional. We all know that.
Right.
This actually, journaling helps to reduce activity in your amygdala, so it keeps you a little more chill, so that you're not swinging up. I'm great, and then you're like, I'm dying. It's gonna keep you more homeostasis levels.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to overwhelm you with all these stats, but those are some benefits, guys, of like why journal. When people tell you it's not BS, it's not just like, yeah, that's cool. Really, there are actual studies and benefits to this. That's why Kate and I have these products. It's not just to BS you. We've felt the shift it's created in our lives. And like Kate said, we felt compelled then to share it with you in a way that we felt could help you. So,
So yeah, tell us, I know that you have like so many products that are they're really cool, because it's like you have the journal deck, which I think people show them again. I think they know what it is now. So it's like the Oracle cards. You get a cute little bag that you can pull out the cards. Yes, love it. I also love the redesign. Totally into the redesign.
Questions that are right in your journal today about, oh my gosh, here we go, perfect. Like, where in your life you need to allow and receive instead of force and push. Remove the block, get out of your own way. So that's everything to do with what we were just talking about. Like Kate said, could I have just said, I need 30 minutes? Can you give me 30 minutes to just be by myself? where do you need to allow yourself to receive, right? That's
Totally.
a big
Totally.
thing with new moms. So it's
Big thing with moms. It's not selfish, like you said at the beginning. It's not selfish to ask for that time. It's going to make you a more patient and more loving mom tomorrow, or even the next 30 minutes that come after that. So what other projects do you have going on, and where do you want everyone to connect with you?
I would say it's, oh boy, oh my God, actually,
You
so
have a lot.
it's just that it's hitting me that we're going into holiday season.
I know.
So we have of course the OG, I think, and then we have the Goddess edition as well. This is all for women.
You have both now? I thought
Yeah, no,
you still do sell both? Okay, cool.
both. Goddess
Okay.
edition is specifically for women also. Not for mothers in particular. It's really more broad, all women. In the terms of the types of prompts that I'm asking, they're very women centric.
Okay.
Female body centric. There's even questions about your period in there. There's lots of questions. If you're curious about that and what those themes are, you could totally go on thejournaldeck.com and check those out. We do have both of those. There's a matching journal that goes with it. I think it's cool because what you have, Kate, it really does like help new moms get into that habit, and then it's almost like if they love that habit, then they can pick up the journal.
Totally. That's why I thought it was like perfect, because like we're saying, so many people have that, like, I don't know what to write about. Or so the first 6 weeks when you're really overwhelmed because you're like super sleep deprived, you have the Grace Guide, you can get through it. And then because you're going to feel the benefits of journaling, you're going to order a journal deck in week 5. So you prepare yourself, and then you'll have, you're going to already have established that, like, again, it's not long. 10-15 minutes, it's all you need. It's like you're not sitting down for an hour and lighting candles every time. And like, it's just, okay, give me some space to kind of think through what I need to write about today.
There's no limit on how much you have to write. You could write 1 page, 5 pages, you could write half a page. Maybe one day all you can write is, I am a good mom.
Over and over.
And there, I wrote in my journal today. I did it. Like that, really, that's me in my journal. Don't should on any of this practice.
Yeah.
Not worth it. You're missing the point if it's a to-do and if it's a should. If you're shoulding on it and it's just another to-do, you're completely missing the point of the self-care aspect. You're just missing it. You're missing the mark.
That's a good way to kind of put it. So you launched the Winter Radiance Retreat, right?
Yeah, so that's more for a lot of local women, I think, will be interested in that, who are in the region of West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania. It's in West Virginia, and it's happening January 29th to the 27th. And it's called
2020, right?
Yeah, 2020.
I can't believe 2019 is going to be over. Okay.
So it's happening, and it's a Winter Radiance Retreat. We do all the self-care, all these amazing things. So that's coming up. And other than that, I would say mostly if you're curious of the journal deck, check out thejournaldeck.com. We're on Instagram at the journal deck. I love Insta. I don't do Facebook, so don't even go there. And then the podcast, we have a podcast called Self-Care Spotlight. Kate was on it way back when. You'll find her episode. She was one of the OG guests we had. We've been doing that since 2017. I just started the fall season with that, so you've got some new episodes rolling. And guess what? They're all about healing. They're all about like the healing is the theme of the fall season for this
nice
fall season. So it works perfectly because journaling is such a healing modality.
Right.
I'd say those 2 things really is the journal deck and the podcast, is where I would tell people if you're curious.
Perfect.
That's where to go. We have a journaling starter package as well that's free. You'll see it when you go on the website. It'll pop right up and prompt you, and it's a little package. If you want to like get your toes wet into journaling, and you're like, I think I want to buy Kate's guide, or I think I want to make sure, it's like a little freebie, and it gets you some worksheets. And that will pop right up, and it's on the website. And
perfect. Awesome. Well, I know everybody's going to be connecting with you. Thank you so much for taking the time and recording today. Again, everything's thejournaldeck.com, or you can check out the journal deck on Instagram. And of course, you're watching this in the post, so there's lots of links below. Make sure you check those out. And thank you for coming, Alyssa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.